And this is just a name. So I just say thank you. I think that was my presentation. And now we open up for the panel. I think all of the panelists are online. So I'm not sure if I can see them, but maybe they could. Truus and Michelle. So maybe if you could invite Michelle Stoffel first, and maybe you can introduce him. Maybe interest if you. It's from the vaccine producers. Okay. So Michelle Stoffel, maybe you could comment on this talk and the topic and your reflections on supply in Europe, and then we can open up for Truus afterwards to comment. Thank you.
So, Karen, I'm sorry, I've had breaks in the connection. So, just to confirm, so the question is for me?
Yes, if you want to comment on your view on supply and exchange of supply from the manufacturer sides in Europe and your experiences.
Yes, so thank you very much. I think the results that you have shown in the presentation are very interesting, and basically they are confirming the position of Vaccines Europe, so which is the association of vaccine manufacturers operating in Europe. When we see the results, I think there are important messages probably which would merit further reflection, as you said. One of them being the fact that few countries only have a mechanism in place to forecast the demand on the long term, which is certainly something problematic in the sense that we have very long lead times for the production of vaccines, as you know. So typically, the majority of vaccines have lead times between 18 months and 24 months, but the complex vaccines can have lead times of production of more than 3 years. So you can imagine immediately that manufacturers need to have a long-term visibility on the future demand. The recommendation also, which is made to have a continuous dialogue between authorities and manufacturers is certainly something which is very important. Another topic which has been mentioned is about the fact that many countries do not have sufficient stocks today. That's probably true, but it's also a concern for Vaccines Europe in the sense that if all countries now start to build their own stocks without any consultation between countries and without any consultation with industry, the situation might be even worse, because we know that today there is a tension on the supply of different vaccines. And so what will be important is to have a dialogue between authorities and individual manufacturers and a coordination if we want to go that way, i.e. that countries build their own stocks. That should be progressive. We should have time to build such stocks. And you mentioned a very important observation, which is about the lack of harmonization of labeling. I want first to react saying that this concerns mostly the old products which were approved many years ago. The new vaccines have been approved via the mutual recognition procedure or the centralized procedure, and therefore, in terms of content, the content of the label is the same whatever the country. There is a point that you did not mention in our view, which is particularly important, is to move to electronic leaflets, but also to move from diverse packs to a common EU pack if we want to have more flexibility in supply. That will be certainly very important for member states if they want to exchange a product, but also that will be very important for manufacturers to address the problem of shortages. It's definitely one of the strong recommendations which is made by industry. So could we replace the paper leaflet by electronic leaflet with all the advantages, like providing the information in all the languages, and so facilitating the access to information to people who are vaccinated. And even we can imagine in a crisis like the crisis in Ukraine today, we could even very easily add, for instance, Ukrainian or Russian as a language during a period of time of a crisis if we move to electronic leaflets. Having a common pack as well would certainly be also something of added value. If you just think about the serialization, we still have two standards in Europe, and basically the move of boxes is possible today, but it's not so easy. And we have certainly important learnings from COVID, for instance. With COVID-19 vaccines, authorities have accepted to use the common JETIN across countries, and we see that this is possible. So there are certainly learnings, and there are certainly there is certainly a need for reflection on how we could improve the packaging labeling requirements to facilitate the transfer of products between countries. I will stop here. I don't know if you have other questions for me.
Yeah, I was maybe inviting Truus de Graaf from the Dutch authorities to also comment on the work package and maybe the perspectives from your side. Is Truus online as well?
I am online. I'm not sure if you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can.
Great. Well, it was very interesting to hear everything we have managed despite COVID. Lots of results. Thanks, Karianne and Antonetta for managing this ambitious project. Also, due to COVID, the world has changed. Most curious we are now, how would countries react to the questions asked for in the surveys in the field of COVID. And we anticipate, but we don't know for sure. So what we see is that with COVID now, at the moment, we have the opposite of what we had with vaccine shortages in the past. At the moment, there's a surplus of vaccines, and it's almost impossible to donate them to the countries in need. So totally different world at the moment.
Yeah, but if you look at, because I think we discussed it back, at least in Norway, with the ones who are doing the tenders, that do you see there are any particular vaccines in the future where we could use this joint procurement mechanisms like we did with the COVID-19 vaccines? Of course, the pandemic influenza vaccines is already a joint procurement, but are there other vaccines, and what can we learn from it? I think it was really interesting to see that we have a portfolio of vaccines, particularly when you have emerging vaccines, where you actually don't have a full license, it's an emergency license, and then you really need to have a range of vaccines to see what works best real life, and you have to been able to change them rather quickly if you have a safety signal, for instance. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you want to comment on that as well.
Yeah, I think it's very promising what in a short while we have established as European countries, first in procuring COVID vaccines, but at the moment still COVID medication. And we're still doing that together. I think it's promising for the future, and I think here I will take over at a certain point, and also help us prepare for next infectious pandemics.
If Michelle, do you have any comments to that topic? Thank you.
Yes, so thank you, Karian. Vaccines' position is that joint procurement should be focused on emergency situations, very special situations, and we have seen the added value in the case of COVID. But what we believe as well is that for other vaccines, so the vaccines which are used in routines, there is certainly also a need for improvements in terms of the current procurement practices. I mean, what you have shown, you see, the fact that many countries have annual cycle, it's an example of, again, the kind of challenges that we are facing. If again, I take into account the duration of production, certainly a 12-month cycle is not long enough. There are other aspects also which are very important if we want to reduce the risk of shortages. The fact to have tenders with only a winner, you see, and not split tenders where you can have several companies, certainly represents also a risk, as you can imagine, when a manufacturer is losing a part of its market. This may have consequences in terms of maintaining a production, and therefore we can certainly also have a risk that some manufacturers are leaving the market. And so there is certainly a need for a reflection also for routine vaccines, how to have better tender processes in place at national level.
Thank you. I think I will open up to the audience. We have 2 minutes left. 1 to 2. So are there any immediate questions among the audience here today? No, everything is super clear for the future. I don't know, Olivier, if you want to. Yeah. Then I just say many thanks to ones who were able to participate virtually, and also to the audience who didn't have any questions. So then we'll move on to the next topic.
What do you think about EMA and in the future joint procurement, the role of EMA, because we have now an agency for vaccine, and the release mandate of EMA, I think they have a mission on this. So what is your thought about the role of EMA for the future?
For the European Medicine Agency? I don't have any answer actually, but I think at least they have a lot of involvement during the COVID-19 vaccine. It's been really very important that they have been able to engage very quickly, also with the National Public Health Institutes, if there was an event, if we had issues which we had to sort out. So maybe they should be more tight, but particularly for emergency use vaccines, I think.
Yes, just one quick comment. We will have Marco Cavalleri as a panelist for the next session. So
we could ask it to him.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, thanks a lot. Then we just close this session and move on to the next one. Thank you.
Thank you.